What's something that you think you could be doing better about your own finances?
I could spend more time, more carefully and aggressively is not the word, more intentionally investing. I'm a little bit haphazard. I just buy a mutual fund, put it on autopilot, forget I own it. I'm looking at real estate. I check my LLCs. I check the rent rolls. I check that stuff. I don't like vacancies. I don't like tenants not paying. I'm gonna know that stuff. But I haven't sat and went, okay, I could move that and I could do that and could manipulate that. I probably could do a lot better at that. I tend to set it and let it go too much, and that's not a suggestion, people. It's seeing a weakness. It's something I could do better at. The good news is I'm a little bit ADD, a lot, and so if I screwed with it as much as my brain told me to, I would have undone half the good stuff that happened by leaving it alone. So it's worked to my advantage to set it and forget it a little bit, but I'm also missing some things that I could tighten up some stuff and do a little better. But it's not. It's okay. We're okay.
I have a question on one of the most common criticisms that people have of you, which is kind of like this undertone of a slight refusal to change, which would be obviously the debt thing, which I actually don't necessarily, I agree with that. I like your debt takes, but also on like the $1,000 emergency fund and other aspects that you've kind of like held true for, I don't know, 30 plus years at this point. Do you think that overall that's worked in your advantage? Do you think that maybe you've cemented yourself in with these positions a little bit too hard, or are you content and satisfied with it? What do you think about changing in on these like core beliefs? Could that be productive?
Yeah. Well, there's two buckets that those things fall into, and not to be smart aleck or anything, but if we thought that we needed to change them, we would have changed them. They're not set it and forget it. They're stuff we see the criticism, we go, well, you just didn't understand this or didn't understand that. But so for me, your most powerful wealth building tool is your income. And when you don't have any debt, you've eliminated the vast majority of risk, and you've freed up this cash flow to build wealth. And if then in an asset, the same thing occurs, for instance, a piece of real estate, if it's paid for, the cash flow is going zoom, zoom. It cash flows more than if you have debt on it. Duh, you don't have a payment. So you've increased your cash flow, you've lowered your risk. You've increased your cash flow, you've lowered your risk. Staying out of debt. And so mathematically, and I've proven in my personal life, and tens of millions of people have proven it, becoming baby steps millionaires, that, going that path. So that's a principle for me that falls kind of like, it's the law of gravity. Mm-hmm. You can either like it or not like it, but it's still a law. It's still, that's just, so no, I'm not changing that one. That one's not mine. That's something I observed, wealthy people doing. I observed it in Scripture. I've observed it in places where I felt like I had a body of truth that it's as dependable as the law of gravity. For instance, another one is, I'm not ever going to tell you that budgeting doesn't work, because 100% of businesses that are successful budget each P&L within the business. I've got 14 P&Ls inside Ramsey. We budget those. Not because I'm Dave Ramsey, but because that's how you run a freaking business. You don't accidentally become successful. We plan it and then we measure against the plan. We plan it and we measure against the plan. And Zig Ziglar said, if you aim at nothing, you'll hit it every time. And so you plan it and you measure against the plan. Same thing as the succession we were talking about earlier. All of that. You plan it and you measure against the plan. You got to have a survivability index. God help us. So you plan it and you measure against the plan. And so, there's been books or people come out and say you don't need to do a budget. Budgets are stupid. No, they're not. It's the only possible way to win. No one accidentally wins at anything. So that's a principle like the law of gravity. The $1,000 thing is different. That's not a principle. That's just a baby step, and we could change it if we wanted to. But if someone says, well, $1,000 is not enough, well, of course it's not enough. It wasn't enough when I put it in place 20 years ago. It wasn't intended to be enough. We're not saying a $1,000 emergency fund is adequate. It's more adequate than zero, and it makes you a little bit scared because you only have $1,000, so you get your butt in gear and get out of debt in baby step 2 using the debt snowball. Then I did my job. It's not supposed to be adequate, and so it needs to be inflation adjusted. Well, inflation adjusted means that it was adequate. No, it's not adequate. 3 to 6 months of expenses is a proper emergency fund. That's baby step 3 after you're out of debt. That's adequate. And that automatically adjusts because the way the formula is, it inflation adjusts or whatever. 3 to 6 months of expenses are different today than they were when I started teaching it 25 years ago. But the formula, inflation adjusts, right? The $1,000 was never meant to be adequate. It's meant to be inadequate. To get you off the couch and get you go get out of debt. People that follow the Total Money Makeover baby steps for financial peace, they're out of debt, not counting their house, on average 18, 24 months. That's your risk window for living off $1,000. It's not like I'm saying for the rest of your life you should only have $1,000. Of course I didn't say that. So of course I should be criticized if I said that, and yes, I should change that if I said that, but I didn't say that. That's not how this works. The way it works is we're trying to get to 3 to 6 months of expenses. That does inflation adjust. I'm still putting all the rest of the baby steps do automatically adjust by the way the formulas are set. 15% of your income going into retirement. 5 doesn't have a formula. Put money for your kid's college. It's very vague because we don't know how old your kid is or how many kids you got or how wealthy you are or whatever. But you need to be doing something for educating your kiddos so they don't live in your basement. And so all this stuff so everything, all this stuff moves 25% of your income going to a thing. It's 25% of your income. Why does that happen? Going to a 15-year fixed rate mortgage for your personal residence. Why? That automatically adjusts with interest rates. It automatically adjusts with house prices. So it doesn't need to be changed. If you put more than that in, you're still going to have squeezed your disposable income. You still don't have the margin to invest, the margin to be generous. You don't have the margin to buy a couch. So you put the stupid thing on 90 days same as cash, and then you wonder why your butt's in debt because you didn't keep margin in your budget. That's why. These are basic things, but they're all formula-based except the $1,000, and I never intended it to be adequate.
And I guess it makes sense when you look at just baby steps. It is a baby step. I like what you said about your principles, the ones that have never changed. It's not actually based off of what you believe to be true, but it's on objective reality, and you kind of just see yourself as a mouthpiece for that reality.
That's best practices.